He launched TextingBase. He's now up to almost 500 customers, each paying $50 a month, so about 25 grand in monthly recurring revenue. He's managed to get his churn down to 3% per month. His CAC is only $18, which is great, so they're growing. His gross margin is 78%, even considering that he has to pay messaging fees, 0.06 cents, to his text messaging providers. Again, focused on helping these customers do text message marketing at scale. He still owns 50.1% of the company. The rest of the cap table is split up among employees and a portion of it, 20% to the next capital raise. They've raised 262 grand so far.
This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per talk.
5 and 6 million.
He is hell-bent on global domination. We just broke our 100,000 unit sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka.
Many of you listening right now don't have time to listen to every B2B SaaS CEO that I've interviewed. If you want to get access to the database I've created with year-over-year growth rates, customer counts, margins, and many, many other data metrics and data points, you can go to getlatka.com. Here's the thing, though. This database, I keep it to myself. It's so freaking valuable. And to preserve the quality of the data and make sure that the people that have access to it have a true advantage, I'm only letting 10 companies on each month. So we're full this month, but you can go to getlatka.com to get on the waiting list for next month. And look, there's big people on the waiting list. I mean, the biggest VCs you've ever heard of. You've probably heard of them. They're big, private equity, billions and billions under management. So it's an impressive waiting list. Go get on now at getlatka.com. This is episode 776. Coming up tomorrow morning, I interview Masterclass founder David. And I asked simply, David, will you win the online course wars? Hello, everyone. My guest today is Eric Beans. He is the CEO of TextingBase. Before that, he was the CEO of a company called AppUIX. He was also the former co-founder of Premier Mortgage Capital, along with author of Changing the World Through Texting Software. He's also done production. He was the producer and writer for LA Style Magazine. Chief Beans on Daytime. Eric, are you ready to take us to the top?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. What does Chief Beans on Daytime mean?
It's Chef Beans. I was actually a chef on a show that aired in 98 markets.
That's very cool. Okay, so why go from cooking to TextingBase, which I assume is texting software?
Yeah, I was never really a chef. The person who ran that show, I made food for her at about 12 at night, and I think her taste buds may have been a little bit inflated at that particular moment in time. So she invited me on the show. I did it, and it was a lot of fun.
That's very cool. So what is TextingBase, and how do you make money?
TextingBase is a personalized mass communication platform for texting. It's actually very similar to what you do on the email side. So we schedule messages, create groups, and reach out to people from local numbers. So the magic of our system is it will seem like you wrote messages personally to a lot of people, assuming you write it the right way, and then it becomes a bi-directional chat. We make money by charging people a subscription, and they get a certain amount of messages per month for that subscription to use the product. So it's a pure SaaS model.
SaaS, so it's a good SaaS model there. And what do people pay on average per month?
50 is our minimum plan, and people pay up to thousands depending on whatever usage they have to do.
On average, though, what would you say across your customer base is? 50?
Our mean is 50. Yeah, most people go with the min plan and build up from there when they need it.
And how many customers are you serving currently?
We're approaching 500.
Oh,
so
wow.
So we're growing pretty quickly and trying to keep on going in that direction. So all is well right now, knock on wood.
And I mean, can I do the math? 500 times 50, assume you're doing about $25,000 a month in recurring revenue?
Correct. It's in that area. That's a very solid Virginia Tech math.
There you go, man. Yeah, another Hokie on the show. That's good. Now, Eric, have you bootstrapped this or have you raised capital?
Both. I started bootstrapping it, got the MVP out, raised capital, and it's been a combination of self-grind and a little bit of money on the outside.
How much have you raised to date total?
$262,000.
That's very specific. Right? Is this a friends and family round? Grandma wanted to put an extra $2,000, so that's where you get the 62 from?
I wish. My family has the ability, but I didn't go to them. I actually went to friends, people that I worked with in business, and then a couple outside investors. We have the former COO of AOL is one of our investors.
Who is that?
Kimberly Partoll.
Okay.
then we have a former VP of HSN, and we have a guy, Brett Kingstone, who was a former CEO of a publicly traded company, is one of the investors. So we've got a nice potpourri of people from different niches that we can leverage to help get us where we're going.
Now, most SaaS companies have a gross margin of 85, 90% because the only costs above the line are server expenses and maybe processing fees. I imagine with texting, you tie into something like Twilio and have a fixed cost structure. What is your gross margin?
It's about 566% basically, and when I say basically, you have to sort of it's hard to pin down because of those server costs and the variable costs associated with it. But the raw margin is about 566, and that actually goes up.
Wait, what do you mean? What margin is typically a percentage between 0 and 100? What do you mean 566?
566% of our actual costs. I'm misreading how you're asking it. So basically, I'll walk you through it. If our cost per message is about 0.06 of a penny, and we're charging 4 cents a penny, that's kind of
you mean 4 cents a text?
Yeah, 4 cents a text. That's
so let me extrapolate that real quick. So if you're making 25 grand per month, how much in that month are you spending on that 0.06 cents?
About $3,600.
Okay,
somewhere around there.
Okay, got it. So that's like, call it 14% of your cost structure currently is that messaging fee.
Correct.
Okay, and then what other costs do you have above the line?
Servers, software, employees, your
just above the line, not SG&A, not like employees or marketing spend, etc.
Well, our server costs run between $380, and now they're going to be more because we're actually running 2 concurrent server infrastructures while we do some additional porting over. So our server costs right now are running about $900 a month. Okay, so we're up to, but that's $3,600 plus $900, so $4,600 per month. What other costs do you have above the line? What about processing fees on money? It's your standard, 3% processing, 2.5 depending on whatever we're actually running through there. But our costs are pretty low. It's a nice business model overall. Got it. So 2.5% processing fee on 25 grand. What is that like? Like $500, something like that? $500 a month. Yeah. Okay. So you've got about $5,500. That's costs above the line that are required for you to run your business to get that 25 grand in revenue. So, you're still pretty healthy there. That puts you at what, about 78, 79% gross margin, something like that? I like it. Yeah, you're doing the math for me better than I can. Well, no, I know a lot of these companies that are built on top of texting. The biggest thing that eats into their profit is the fee they have to pay to send out the text to the provider. Correct. How'd you negotiate? Is 0.06 cents low? How'd you get such a low rate? We negotiated it. So we actually signed a contract for volume. The more volume you do, the lower your costs are. But the traditional cost for it is 3/4 of a penny. And because we got over a certain threshold, we negotiated with Twilio directly. And we're able to reduce our monthly cost per transaction. Down to 6/100ths, basically, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. Going from 3/4 to 6/100ths. What volume did you have to commit to get that kind of deal? Well, originally with $1,000 a month. In the next level, the next iteration, there's actually tiers at $1,000 and $5,000. So our next iteration for where we're going to get an additional break is at the $5,000 a month level. So you're currently paying about $1,000 per month to get down to that 0.06 cents. That we've committed to a minimum. That's our minimum. So it really doesn't affect our overall. That's just our $12,000 a year is what we've committed to Twilio. And then, as we get to the next level, and we're not that far away, we'll be able to sign another contract to continue to lower our costs. And give me more of the backstory here. So what year did you launch this company in? I started in 2012. I was in banking. I needed this product. Nobody had it. So I left banking and started building it. Of course, I knew building a business was going to be twice as long and twice as much. So I factored that in, and it still ended up being twice as long and twice as much as my doubling. So it took about 3.5 years. And part of that's because my team, we had to take on additional projects just to be able to fund them and pay their salary. What is your team at now? We have an engineer up in Maryland who does back-end work and programming. We have a programmer down in Orlando, a user interface professional in Orlando, an attorney that I'm married to, and myself.
Okay, so call it 4 or 5 total.
Correct.
Okay, and what is take me through some of the kind of the growth story here. So you have 500 customers. How are you finding these customers?
Well, originally we targeted mortgage providers and real estate providers.
Mm-hmm.
So
how? Like what? When you targeted though, you go to the conferences for them, or LinkedIn forums, or what?
Oh no, we started out with emailing blasts, and using different email lists through third-party providers that had those lists. I started using personal connections. And with the personal connections, I actually used our product. So I started loading in my connections into TextingBase, keeping in touch with them for holidays, and using the product to stay in touch with people, and that's really blossomed. So mostly email and texting.
So what's a website somebody can go to find one of these third parties that will kind of tell you what lists are for sale if they wanted to find, to copy a similar strategy?
Great question. I stopped using that provider a while ago. We actually started building our own list about 3 years ago. There's a provider that I used for years. I just can't remember.
You can't remember. Okay, yeah. Good. But that's how you started. You paid X amount of money to get access to these lists, and then you converted those people in, and now you're doing that plus a combination of building your own, plus a combination of your own personal stuff.
Yes, correct.
Okay, very cool. What about so obviously it costs money to get access to those lists. What is your customer acquisition cost?
It's gone from about $28.47 down to $18 in that range. Okay. And mostly because we started compiling our own data. It was a real push of mine to get our own data so we didn't have to, pay a penny of an email.
And what's your churn look like relative to that CAC? So like how long do customers stay with you?
Good question. Our current churn is about 2.87%, but
monthly or annually?
Monthly. Okay. Rewind a year and it was much higher. I think it was closer to 8% for a month a year ago. So we're changing things around and keeping people longer, making them happier.
So just to be clear, if you start the year with 100 customers and you have 3% gross churn per month, you're going to lose about 36 of those by the end of the year?
Correct.
Okay, got it. And what do you assume lifetime value is on these guys paying $50 a month?
That is a great question. You have done research on that. I haven't really compiled our numbers yet. It's a little too early because we've been out for about 18 months to understand how long we're going to keep customers and what an average customer is. Yep. Plus, we're getting ready to raise our costs here, or our minimum price here in the next couple months. Yep. And we just did in the beginning of the year. Right now what I'm seeing and what I expect is that people will stay with us if we're making them money. We tend to become a lot more people tend to like us a lot more once they start to make money with our product. We don't have contracts, so we'll see. It's a different type of model because I don't lock people in. I'm hoping that the product does that for them.
Last month, what did you spend just on paid acquisition?
Last month was a higher month because I did actually pay-per-clicks. I started pay-per-click for the first time, but I didn't have any data costs. So we paid, I think, $800 and some last month for $850 for pay-per-click costs.
And that was your total kind of digital ad spend, was that?
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And what about like the cap table? Do you own 100% of the business, or was that $262,000 that you raised in equity round where you gave some to investors?
I gave some to investors. I've kind of set my minimum at 50.1. I know it's fairly useless because you have voting shares and you can keep control that way. So I'm aware, but that's sort of my target. I have about 20.5% of the company available for a capital raise right now, and the rest is allocated to investors and the people that are building the product. Everybody building the product owns part of the product.
So just to be clear, you have 50.1%, 20.5% is allocated towards your next capital raise, and the other, call it 29.5%, is dedicated towards kind of employees and like a big equity pool.
Correct, yes.
Guys, big news. Last month was a huge month for the company I recently acquired, which was www.thetopinbox.com. I liked the company so much when I met the person who created it. It lets you send emails later on Gmail, set up reminders like snooze almost to keep your inbox clean, do things like send auto follow-ups, and do open tracking so you know when your emails get opened. It's great if you're in sales or a CEO or trying to be more productive. So listen, I bought the whole company on the spot, and I want to tell you how I did it. I've showed the deal, by the way, to big, smart people, private equity firms, VCs, and they're dumbfounded. They go, Nathan, how did you do this? We've never seen a deal like this. How did you do this? So I did an unbelievable deal, and I want to show you the income report. So for me to send you the income report, go to www.thetopinbox.com. Click the red button that says install this on Gmail. And when you do that, my email will appear. It'll appear in a little Gmail pop-up window. Send me an email and I'll reply immediately with the income report. And you can see how I'm buying and growing small B2B SaaS companies. That's www.thetopinbox.com. Totally free to try and use. www.thetopinbox.com. Very, very cool. Eric, let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
It's interesting you asked. I just read the not the Bill Gates book, Steve Jobs book, a different guy, but he was in there. I don't really have a favorite business book. I've tried to get through a lot. I read more articles these days.
What's the one you just read?
The Jobs biography.
Steve Jobs bio, yeah. Okay, good. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
Yeah, actually, I follow a lot with Brett Kingstone, who's one of my business partners. So he's been connected. He was actually in his room, Sun Microsystems started. So he's done a lot of things throughout the years, run a publicly traded company, and I've got the opportunity to be mentored and ask questions from him.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool, like Acuity Scheduling?
My favorite online tool for Acuity Scheduling, man, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to get
What's a tool that you use a lot?
Oh, my own.
Besides your own.
That's a cop-out answer, but that's, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that.
Just think about like how you run your business, like whether it's payroll or managing your own marketing spend or time tracking or email or.
Yeah, Gusto is one I use a lot for payroll. It saves me a lot of time. It takes me about 5 seconds to run payroll, so I like that.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I have a newborn, so I'm going to say about 4 these days.
And how many kids total do you have?
I have 2. I have a 11-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay, and you said you're married, and how old are you?
I am 43 years old.
All right, Eric, last question. Take us back 23 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Oh, I wish my 20-year-old self knew to make better choices on who I surrounded myself with. A lot of the people I thought were winners that had my best interest in mind certainly didn't. I was loyal to a lot of people that I may have been better off not being loyal to, but I don't regret it. It got me where I am, but that's what I would probably tell my 20-year-old self. Start to use your talents, focus on one thing, get it done, and stop being so scattered to try to be the best at everything. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self.
There you guys have it from Eric Beans. He launched TextingBase. He's now up to almost 500 customers, each paying $50 a month, so about $25,000 in monthly recurring revenue. He's managed to get his churn down to 3% per month. His CAC is only $18, which is great, so they're growing. His gross margin is 78%, even considering that he has to pay messaging fees, 0.06 cents, to his text messaging providers. Again, focused on helping these customers do text message marketing at scale. He still owns 50.1% of the company. The rest of the cap table is split up among employees, and a portion of it, 20%, to the next capital raise. They've raised $262,000 so far. Eric, thank you for taking us to the top.
You're a great man. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode with Eric, go back and listen to Andy yesterday. He founded a fintech company and came on the show and said, Nathan, I will never raise capital again. And it's not because he's stupid. Tune in to find out why. That was yesterday's episode.